Ed, hi.
Good to be here.
I'm glad you're here. Enjoy cake. So we're really excited because we got to see a whole new mode here in Mortal Kombat at GDC.
Yes.
So tell us all about it because it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's called Challenge Tower. It's another single-player experience that we're giving to players in addition to our story mode, and it's imagined like this tower of little challenges to give to the player that slight variations on the play mechanic, kind of zany things, fighting without a head, fighting without arms, throwing your arms and legs at people, and imagine 300 of them, many hours of going through, and the greatest prize in the world at the very top.
Not to oversell the prize.
Yeah.
So all right, well let's hop in because those of us that have played MK know towers, but this is probably the biggest tower we've ever seen.
Yeah, so imagine one of our arcade towers that's usually 10 tall, but now it's 300 tall, so it's going to take a little bit of time to go in. But you have all these crazy modes in there, all the return of a lot of features. Test your might, test your sight, test your strike, test your luck.
So
a lot of
test your luck. What is that?
Test your luck is imagine a slot machine that basically kind of rolls and gives the player a random events that he has to fight in. This here is actually Test Your Might, which was kind of introduced in the first Mortal Kombat game, and so we're bringing it back. So this is one of many test yours that are littered throughout the Challenge Tower.
Very cool. Now, one of the neat things about this tower is some of the early challenges seem to be almost tutorial-like, just to kind of get people up to speed. Yeah?
Exactly. It gets you kind of familiar with the fighting mechanic, teaches you some of the offensive, defensive stuff, and then the craziness kind of comes in around number 8 or 9. You start fighting, people without heads and zombies, and it's like a fighting. So there's a little bit of teaching, but it's a lot more of a fun, kind of crazy novelty than it is, a tutorial.
And we definitely need to call out the fact that the game blew us away with the visuals when we saw it at E3, and it's certainly come together even more. So what's it been like just to bring MK to look like this? And I'm sure that Sonya's vest is bulletproof and protective, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Our graphics are one of the things that we're most excited about. When you think about it, this is the first time that we've done a Mortal Kombat game, an M-rated Mortal Kombat game on this generation of platforms. So we have, easily the most sophisticated presentation of human anatomy as well as blood and all the kind of crazy violent stuff that we've done in the past.
And your X-ray, the X-ray attacks we have to call out because they are totally nuts.
Yeah, the X-ray attack is probably the most devastating move we've ever put in a Mortal Kombat game. You see inside breaking right there. You see the kind of neck breaking, and she slams Brock on his head. You see his skull crack. It's a really a lot of internal damage is kind of highlighted in there. And
the meter at the bottom now lets you, in addition to doing the X-ray attacks, which are sort of like, I guess, the upper end, you can power up your normal attacks as well.
Exactly. You can do 3 things. You can either do enhanced versions of your special moves, which is like Nightwolf He'll shoot 1 arrow or shoot 3 arrows for the enhanced version. Or you can do the breakers, which is something that we introduced in Deception, so you can break out of a combat. Or you can save it all up and kind of spend it all on one X-ray move, which is, easily the most devastating in terms of damage.
Yeah, and we're also checking out some of the stages. And this particular challenge is really interesting because you're telling people to target specific kind of sections on the body.
Yeah. This one is kind of like you have to have a certain amount of head hits, chest hits, gut hits, and leg hits. And so, as you're fighting, that's your real goal, is to get that. It's not so much of just wear your opponent down. It's hit them in so many different places, and that's a little bit of a tutorial, but it starts as you gradually go through the Challenge Tower. It gets more and more kind of zany. Before you know it, you're throwing your arms at people and all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, and we've been, as we've been seeing these little modes here, we've definitely seen a lot of familiar faces, from the series. How's the fan reaction been? Because the internet kind of exploded when you guys, unveiled this game and started saying some things about the roster. So what's it like?
This game is all about returning to MK2 and 3 And so it's kind of like, for the most part, I've always been kind of saying, this is, if you have a favorite character from Mortal Kombat 1, 2, or 3, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to see them in this game. And we've slowly revealed, kind of verifying certain characters being in the game, but we've been pretty consistent with that as the new characters have going on.
Yeah, and it's like, and I guess in a lot of ways the fans have been saved the hassle of harassing you to put characters in the game, because pretty much almost anybody people would want is in, right?
No, I get plenty of harassment on Twitter. Actually, a lot of people are, pretty angry that we're not including some of their later favorite characters. But we have, this game's going to have DLC, so we're going to be downloading characters, and so there's always a chance that we're going to get those the Reigns and the crazy more obscure characters from Mortal Kombat.
Oh, this is nice. Now, while we're watching some skulls and testing their luck, anybody that have questions for us, go ahead and let us know on Twitter. At our @GameSpot.com Twitter feed. Go ahead and let us know if you've got questions. I've got a lot of people from overseas lamenting just when they're about to go to bed, something like this happens and they have to stay awake. Sorry, dudes. Now, let's see, what else have you guys shown new off here at GDC? So we definitely had the Challenge Tower, which is one of the biggies. We got to see some new playable characters.
Yeah, we've actually introduced some new characters, and when we have some gameplay that shows off their kind of crazy antics, as well as one of the, in my opinion, one of the best stage fatalities we've ever had in a Mortal Kombat game. And it really gives you an indication of just how many layers are in the fighting engine. This game we've really tailored for the hardcore fighting engine more than any Mortal Kombat game we've done before. So we have things in there that we really feel the kind of tournament players are really going to eat up.
And oh, look, first question, is Cabal in? Sorry, man. Oh. God, the kids aren't, you're not kidding, because this thing's lighting up. All right, that's cool. So the other thing I wanted to point out is, you're right, there's a lot of hardcore stuff in here that we got a chance to check out, but what I found really interesting is you guys seem to be including a lot of tools for people that were maybe intimidated by Mortal Kombat early on. Like the Fatality Trainer I thought was kind of genius, because I know a bunch of people that want to play the game, but when they play it, they want to do fatalities.
Exactly.
They don't know.
The fatalities, we put a Fatality Trainer in the game. It actually highlights a part of the ground that you're supposed to stand on, and it shows you the move that you have to do, and you really get a feeling of the fatality. You can turn the timer on or off, and so I really, the result of that is people really kind of get back to the whole fatality thing. People who thought they were no way they could ever pull one off, they leave there thinking, I'm going to go do a fatality on somebody. And to me, it's one of the most exciting kind of hidden gems that we have in the game that people are really going to gravitate to.
And, the other question that I think a lot of folks have had, are the fatalities, because you guys never seem to run out of ideas, and they seem to get even crazier.
Yeah.
So we do have, like, we asked Aaron, one of the dudes on the team that we talked to earlier this week, kind of where they get inspiration from, but I have to, like, is there some kind of massive wall at work where it's like, hey, let's pick some of these? No,
you know what, I bet you if you got a bunch of guys here and you all sat in a room and you thought, let's make up some crazy fatalities, it'd be the same meeting that we have. It's the kind of crazy stuff. There'd be one person saying, no, that's crossing the line, we can't do that. And so that's when you got to do it. And then so you have all these kind of morality arguments about what's doable in the game. But from when we started this game, we knew we wanted to do Mortal Kombat with fatalities that are going to give you a reaction like you felt like when you played Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. That was our goal.
And that, from what we played, got to tell you, sold. Now, Danny O'Dwyer, one of our friends from overseas, wants to know, will the controls be as easy as MK versus DC?
Actually, they're easier, I think, in a lot of ways. We don't have the three-dimensional walking that we're not asking the players to do. So it's really kind of like the simple mechanics of, the 2D fighting. So it's vertical and horizontal, jumping over projectiles, dunking under projectiles, crossover attacks, and all the kind of basic strategies you do from back then. And so I think it's really going to be actually more accessible than MK versus DC.
Let's see, we've got, what's the combo system like? Is it as fluid as we've seen before? Is there more depth?
The combo system's a lot more of a kind of custom combos when the player makes up. It's less kind of dialing in. I don't think we have any attacks that are more than like, 3 hits in terms of like, button combination sequences. So there's a lot of juggling, a lot of, make your own thing. People play, I bet you I can knock him up here and then do this ground pound move and then do a dash move there. And a lot of that stuff, we see people making stuff up that we didn't even think of. So that's always a nice